was Mothman?
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was with Rob. We were there for almost a week at West Virginia, and yeah, I mean, we met a lot of people, Mothman experiencers. We met authors, Mothman authors, furries. We met some furries. Actually, we took pictures with them. So yeah, no, that was a lot of fun.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Yeah. The first time I heard about Mothman was at the CE5 that we last did.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden you're like at this Mothman convention and I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Go Jack.
Yeah, I didn't think I was ever gonna go to the Mothman Fest, but no, it was a lot of fun.
Did you know at the CE5 you were going to go to the Mothman, or it just kind of came after that?
No, it came after that.
That's awesome.
This was very last minute, to be honest with you.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you got the experience. What was your favorite?
Rob. What are you doing, sir? We are filming.
Oh, it already started? Yeah, it started. Oh, well, no, I didn't. Oh, okay. This is the director's cut.
Fired.
Down.
He's fired.
Just the director's cut.
This guy.
Bear with us.
But yeah. You know what? We're keeping this. We're keeping this in so the world knows
It's the
what
first
you've
time
done.
doing this.
I was hoping to sort things out in the fridge.
You should be. Yeah. But speaking of CE5, so yeah, you and I co-hosted a CE5 event, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind.
Yeah.
But before we get into that, people need to know who you are. So tell us what you do, where you come from, and well, let's start out with that. What do you do?
All right. So my name is Desirea. I'm anywhere from a shamanic shapeshifter to an energy interpreter, all the way to a light language activator.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love working with people to help them, one, remove their shadow side, right? Remove all that baggage and open up into who they truly are. And then just bring in that spiritual element where I teach them different skills in metaphysics. I open up their eyes to things that they never experienced before. And then I just watch the miracles happen. As you work with people, you can see their faces change, right? They come in and they'll be like, oh yeah, I'll get some energy work done, right? And then you work on them and they're like, whoa, I was like flying and I was astral projecting and the colors. And to me, that's one of the most miraculous things in the world. So I say, hey, bring it on. Let's do some more energy work. And as I do that energy work throughout my life, I realize that I can open people up to light language. And that to me is one of those miraculous things because the light language itself is very healing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can watch the transformation in the people as they use it or as they experience it. And then also for me in particular, I see the frequencies coming out of them. I see their heart chakras opening, and I just know that there's so much more happening behind the scenes. And then 6 months later, they come in and they're like, you never believe how my life changed. And I'm like, yeah, we're raising consciousness. We're waking people up. Let's keep going.
Well, I've seen you do your work, and people always come away from you with just feeling much more aloof, much more happier. So, and this is a full-time gig for you, right?
It is.
So every day you're saving people's lives. You're helping people.
Opening their heart chakras.
So every superhero like you has a superhero origin story. So how this started in childhood.
Yep.
How did you know you were different? How did you know that you had these abilities? Did what you do, because I do know a little bit, right? I do know that not all your abilities came from childhood. There's things that developed for you over time, even recently. But how did you know that you were different from others as a kid?
As a kid, I had a glow to me, right? I would literally just walk around and hum these tunes and sing these tunes that didn't make sense. They were gibberish. And I just glowed. And you could see as I walked in the room, it'd just be like, oh, like things just feel better, right? And I didn't realize like what I could do as a child so much. But I did realize as like a little bit older child that people would come to me with their problems all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they would be like, oh, let me tell you, things I've never told people before. And I'd be like, why are you telling me like craziness? Like, I'd be like, okay. And I would listen because that's what they needed at the time. And I was like, that's all I can really do is listen.
Were the other kids telling you, or were they adults?
All sorts of things. I remember one time I was probably about 15, 16 years old, and some kid next to me on the bus was like, yeah, I stabbed my mom. I was like, whoa, hold on. A little too much information. I think I want to sit over here. I'm just saying, over here seems a little bit more safe.
What did she do?
Listen to him.
No, what did she do? What did the mom do?
I don't know. That was years ago. I don't know. Hopefully he called 911. I don't know. And then there was other things that I knew too, like people would highlight to me is what I call it. And basically I would just be like, what's going on with that person? I'd be kind of fixated on them. And I never would ask their name or anything. I'd just be like, who are you? Like, why am I so fixated on you? And then something would happen to them. So for instance, like I remember being in about 7th, 8th grade, and there was a kid who got hit by a school bus.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the whole beginning of the school year, I was like, there's something about that kid. What's about that kid? And I just could never put my finger on it until something happened. And I was like, oh, there you go. That's what it was.
They got hit by a bus?
Mm-hmm.
Did they survive? Oh, no.
No. But it was just different things I knew would happen before they happened, whether I knew exactly what it was.
So it came in like they're just feelings.
Feelings, or like sometimes I see the aura around people, or I get fixated on something about them. Like I remember the first time I met you, I believe you had a cane, and I was like, dude, what's up with that cane? And I got fixated on that cane.
Why was I holding a cane?
Oh, we were at some expo. You just looked cool that day. That's all I can say.
What? Rob, do you remember this? Because I remember I met you with Rob.
You had like a cane or something, and I was like, you look like a wizard.
I
And we
wonder if
started
I was just
talking.
using it to hit Rob or something.
Probably.
Yeah,
Yep.
that sounds about right.
He was like, yes, master. Whatever you say, master.
Rob, stop with the noise in the background. And I just say that.
There you go. There you go.
So when you see these things, when you see like the auras, do you see it the way that I would see like you, or is it more like your third eye?
So there's different ways to see it. There's ways to see it with your eyes open. If I see it with my eyes open, you're going to see a glow around somebody, and sometimes that glow is a color.
Mm-hmm.
If I see it with my eyes closed, it's like looking at a shadow behind your eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, it almost looks like I can see the scene of whatever's in front of me, but the only thing that's lit up is that person and the exact shape of that person, and maybe a feature. For instance, if they have a striped shirt, that image behind my eyes will have that striped shirt.
Okay.
Okay. There's other ways that I can see them, in the sense of if they have a necklace, it's like, man, that's the coolest necklace I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Or something about them will just be like so obsessive to me. I'll be like, I just have to mention they have a cool necklace. I have to mention they have a cool cane. And so that's another way that they'll kind of highlight or see the auras of them.
Now, when you just like walk around and stuff, are you seeing auras on every person, or does it just come and go?
So the thing about this gift,
Yeah.
no offense, I don't want to know everybody's problem,
Yeah.
right? Like I don't want to, but I want to be available to those who need help and that I'm guided to help.
Right.
So in that sense, I've set the boundaries with my guides and my team that says, please only show me those things that I'm supposed to know.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, if I'm out and about in a big crowd, there'll just be a couple people who highlight. But if I specifically am at like an expo,
Mm-hmm.
every person that I want to tune into, I'll be like, hey, can I tune into that person, that person,
Oh,
that
okay.
person? But I also respect other people's
Yeah.
energies. I believe our energies are like our house. You don't just walk into somebody else's house. So that's just my clients and stuff like that that I tap into.
I bet Mike's aura is just like all black. It's just a black glow around him.
Dude,
Yeah.
call me. We'll work on it.
Have you ever seen a black aura before?
So,
Maybe a better question is, have you ever encountered anybody that was demonically influenced? And if so, what would their aura look like?
so the answer that's yes, yes, and no. So, I see black blobs, right? Black globs, black strings, even black tar on people. Those are all like entities and more on the darker side. I see people sometimes they'll fully gray. If a person looks gray, that tells me they're lifeless. Gray is different than black. Black is more entity, gray is more lifeless.
Well, lifeless meaning like how? Like they don't have souls? Like NPCs
Or along the lines of they're barely holding on.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I can give you an example of a friend of mine. The very first time I met them, they were gray head to toe. And I was like, whoa, holy moly, they're gray.
Yeah.
They had a lot of, their mother was going through some stuff. They had stuff going at work. They were just really pressured about everything. And they're like, I don't know how to hold on anymore. And at that point, did some healing work. And all of a sudden their color came back. They got that peachy color, all of that. And I was like, oh, you just had a lot going on and we had to clear
You
it.
just needed some work, yeah. I'm really interested in how you described the like the black tar, the black stringy stuff. I had a guest on here, Christina Bloom. Do you know Christina? Yeah, she actually described. I don't think she did it on the show, but talking to me, she actually described something very similar. That if somebody was demonically influenced or demonically possessed, she described like black tar or like a black mass around them. So it's very similar to how you described. That's interesting.
I find that there's different levels. Okay. So if you just have some denser energy, per se, it looks like, black speckles, black dust. Then that dust, the next level would be more of a fog, right? Something that moves around. Okay. That's not as bad. And then it'll become a little bit more dense, such as strings or cords. But once it starts forming a shape and becoming more solid, that's a whole different game. Now, that solid may start developing features. Now, that feature could be eyes, hands, arms, or just in general a body shape.
That's disturbing.
The more developed they are, the nastier.
Yeah.
Okay. Also, the more developed they are, they may become stickier. And the stickier are, the worse it is as well. I've had it before where an individual felt an entire being come up out of them. And it felt like black tar sticking. And we actually had to cut it as it like moved out from him. That was nasty.
So what was going on with that person? Like, do you know their background?
Really, really heavy addiction, abuse in childhood, mental, physical. I don't believe there was sexual abuse, but years and years of addiction, multiple generations back.
Well, with you having all these like light abilities, does this run in the family?
It's interesting you say that. As a young adult, I did family history.
Yeah.
And we researched all of that. And I came across some photos of a great-great-great-grandfather on my dad's side. And he was called the Old Prophet.
Oh.
Right? Pretty cool.
Wait, yeah, that's awesome. Why did they call him that?
Oh, he could predict things. He just knew things.
Yeah. Where was he from?
Iowa.
Okay.
So my family...
I thought you were going to say some European country and you're like, Iowa.
No, Iowa. But then, so I have abilities on both sides of my family. And then it wasn't until my older years, because I wasn't really around my biological family a lot, or the extended biological family a lot as a child. It was in my much older years after I developed into this that I started realizing, the cousins and the aunts and just the lineage that actually it extended. And I was like, whoa, we didn't talk about this. We didn't talk about this at all.
Yeah.
But I think because I lived in a family that had the abilities, I was already open to it, right? When you're around that vibration, you calibrate to it. And so then when I went out on my own and I started really opening up, it just was like, firecrackers, just totally opened up.
Why didn't you grow up with your biological family?
So I had a really rough upbringing. For instance, my dad went to prison when I was little. So he wasn't...
Like how old?
2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And by that time, my mom and dad divorced, right? So I was living with a single mom. Living with her, she may have not made the best life choices.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way. By the time I was 14, I moved out of the house. That was after, we moved 4 or 5 times a year sometimes.
That's super young.
I was the oldest sibling to stay in the house, believe it or not.
Wow.
Four of
The
us.
oldest?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Why'd your dad go to prison?
Drunk driving. He hit somebody drunk driving. They were killed.
Oh, my God. How long did he stay in prison for?
Over a year. I was little. I don't remember the specifics.
When he got out, did you have a relationship with him?
Not so much. I mean, I don't remember a lot of my childhood, but, there was every other weekend kind of thing, but that didn't always happen. And there were periods of time where I didn't see him for a very long time.
Okay.
And especially when I was 14. When I was 14, I literally moved halfway across the country, so I didn't see any family for a couple years.
Wow. What was going on at home that you left at 14?
So by the time I was 14, my older brother left the house and moved in with my dad. He was gone. I was living with my mom and my younger brother and my younger sister, and things were just rough, right? As an adult, I realize now how much drug use was going on.
With your mom?
With my mom, neglect. There was times when I was 10 years old, she'd leave us home alone for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. There'd be no food in the house.
Where was she?
She went out of town to work, came home with track marks on her arm, the typical thing.
Yeah.
So I was very independent by the time I was 10. And I had 3 paper routes to even feed my younger brother and my younger sister, and that's kind of how we ate.
Were you the oldest sibling?
No, I have an older brother, but he ended up moving with my dad because my mom was so physically abusive to him.
Oh, okay.
So he ended up moving with my dad, and, he has his story.
Yeah.
But,
when your mom was not home, I mean, were you guys going to school still?
Mm-hmm.
So you still went to grammar school?
Yep.
And finished that?
Yep. Yeah, still went to school. That was my saving grace.
Wow.
Right? I loved books. I loved learning.
Yeah.
Straight A student, I loved it, but that was my escape.
Yeah. Did you get along with your siblings?
Oh, yeah, I loved my brother and my sister. They were absolutely phenomenal. I think as we got older, though, we all kind of chose our own path.
Sure. Yeah.
Still love them, but we just had a rough upbringing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would imagine it would have either gone one or two ways. With your parents gone and you guys with each other, you guys either all did not treat each other well, or you guys formed a bond with each other during that time. So it seems like you guys formed a bond when you were little.
We did, but we also all went off in vastly different directions.
Sure. Yeah.
So like I said, I was 14.
Yeah.
When I was 14, I actually met a man who was 23. And when I did that, my mother decided it was a good idea that we got married. So my mother signed off the papers for us to get married.
Yeah.
That way he wouldn't go to prison because he was,
And your mom approved of this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
What was he like?
Suicidal, abusive.
Yeah.
Would have fits of rage and break things. Would play Russian roulette. Make me sit there and watch him.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
It
was pretty traumatic.
Yeah, I bet.
So I stayed there. I was 14. I stayed there.
Where'd you meet him?
Down the street? I mean, wouldn't you be partying when you were 14? Met the cool guy with the cool car who bought, beer for all the young kids and
Right.
got drunk, right?
Typical. Yeah.
Typical
Wow.
pedophile. Yes.
Interesting.
That's how I would say that.
How long were you guys together for?
Almost 2 years. We stayed in Illinois to begin with, but once like things got rough at home, it
Mhm.
caused a lot of chaos within my mom's house with my siblings and everything. So he goes, "Hey, I'm from Idaho. You want to go?" And I was like, "Well, it's better than here. Let's go."
Yeah.
So I went, but I didn't realize how isolated I'd be. He controlled a lot of what I did in the sense of like, what I wore.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't ride the bus to go to school because I might meet somebody on the bus. The summer I was 15, I went to work with him all summer just so he could watch me. I wasn't allowed to talk to the other guys on the crew except for the boss and the boss's son.
Yeah.
And that's just how it was until one day it got really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I shut down, right? Like it was just easier to go inside myself than deal with the stuff around me. And so I would pretend like I slept all day, which is cool because that's the first time I remember astral projecting.
Oh, interesting.
So as I laid there in bed pretending to sleep so I wouldn't be disturbed, right?
Yeah.
I remember just coming up out of my body and being able to fly around the room. Unfortunately, that was also watching him do some not very nice things to not appropriate pictures on the computer. Right? And those are the things that I would see as I astral projected.
So wait, when you astral projected, you were in a room with him while he's doing that. So basically, that it was too much for you. You broke down, and you astral projected.
Yep.
It's like your way of just getting out of there.
Getting out of your
Yeah.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then eventually my grandmother offered to buy plane tickets and have us visit her in Texas. And I was
Mhm.
like, "Grandma, I need a one-way ticket and I can't come home."
Wow.
And so I left. I stayed about a month at my grandmother's house and I was a shell of a person. I just remember going, "Okay, it's okay." Because I wouldn't be who I was
Sure.
if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
I would never recommend that for anyone. Like, I have a daughter, and there's no way in hell I would ever let her go through anything like that. But
Did you tell him you were leaving, or did you just go?
I told him the weekend before I left.
Okay. And what was his reaction?
Not pleasant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not pleasant at all.
You want tissues?
Sure. So then when I came back, I had to make a choice. The choice wasn't exactly easy. My mother lived in a 30-foot camper trailer with no running water, but at least it had electricity.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you also had to have been glad just to be out of that situation,
yes,
right? I mean,
absolutely.
it's like, okay, no running water, but at least I'm not,
Yeah,
you know.
at least I'm
Yeah.
have a chance to live,
Yeah.
right?
Did you get along with your grandma?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I did. And I stayed about a month at her house, and then I came back to Iowa, Illinois, where my family was.
Yeah.
My mother being in Illinois, my father being in Iowa. And at the time, my older brother lived with my dad, and he tended to be a little rough, right?
Mm-hmm. Your older brother?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I decided I didn't like how he got beat as a kid, so he put holes in the wall as a kid, right? And that was a little too much for me.
Yeah.
So I decided it was better to go live with my mother. Now at this time, like I said, 30-foot camper trailer, no running water, but at least it had electricity, which I seemed fortunate for because my brother and my sister lived in there without electricity
Yeah.
and without water. That's a totally
Jeez.
different through the winter. The way we got water is we'd literally go get gallons of water from the gas station,
Mhm.
right? To use the bathroom, you went outside in a bucket.
It's like you were living during the Great Depression.
Except for it was
Except
like,
it wasn't.
It wasn't like at all.
Yeah.
But at the time, my mom didn't want to work.
So
didn't.
you left your mom at 14. So when you came back, what is this, 2 years later?
Yeah.
So you were 16 when you came back to your mom's, and things haven't changed with her, right?
No, I haven't spoken to that woman in years.
No. I mean,
Oh,
at 16 years old.
Not really. They hadn't changed,
Yeah.
but my perspective had changed.
Okay.
What
yeah.
you sense and you see when you're, 5, 6 years old
Yeah.
is different than what you see when you're 16. So when I was about 17 years old, I had a friend, her parents took one look at what we were living in and they're like, you can't live like this.
Mhm.
And they invited me to come live with them. Happened to be a pastor and his wife, so I only
Oh.
stayed with my mom for about 6 months or so, and then I ended up moving with them.
Okay. And how was that?
Okay. I was raised differently,
Yeah.
right? And so it was like if my mom said something, it was like, that's it, that's how it is.
Yeah.
They were a little bit more lenient, so it was a little bit like getting used to that.
Okay. But did they treat you well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was the mom and dad that you were living with and then your friend that you were living with.
Yep, and then they had a son and a daughter,
Okay.
right? And then eventually my little brother came to live there
Oh.
as well. My mother let my little brother stay at his friend's house for 6 months and didn't come home. And so the family that I lived with was like, we can't just like leave this kid and abandon him.
Yeah.
And so they ended up getting guardianship of him, I believe on his 13th birthday, like 12 or 13. But I remember my mom finally came home that weekend. It was crazy. Like that weekend, talk about psychic ability. She hadn't been home in 6 months, but the one weekend before we're supposed to go to court, she shows up, right?
Wow.
And she walked into court and she was like, I can't do this. Woe is me. It's so hard being a parent of 4 kids. I'm like, he's the only kid left. Like, what do you mean? The other ones are gone. And so they ended up raising him the rest of his life.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. I mean, he's still alive, but
Yeah.
that's his parents, yeah.
When did you leave them?
College.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so it was not a bad time living with them. No. Are you still in contact with them?
Occasionally, I'm not as close like as my brother was.
Yeah.
I think just because he was so young,
Sure.
right? And so that's his parents, like, and they come to every function, birthday of the kids and all the things. For me, I think because I moved around and I didn't learn attachment as much to people, I'm very like, I don't need to talk to you for 6 months. We're good.
Right. Yeah.
So I think for me, I just don't.
So then you went to a couple different schools then, right?
A lot of schools.
Yeah.
Like 1 year alone, I believe it was like 4 in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you go to college?
I did.
Where'd you go?
I went to Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois, and then NIU in DeKalb.
Nice.
Got a bachelor's majoring in biology, minoring in math and chemistry, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Because now when we go into metaphysics, it's all about quantum physics,
Yeah.
right? And I'll be doing a meditation, then all of a sudden quantum physics will come in. I'll be like, dude,
Yeah.
I remember this stuff in school.
So is your college years when things started settling for you, or is there more chaos?
So it's the craziest thing, right? I always ask myself, like, why does this stuff happen to me? But I ended up going to college. As I was in college, I had a daughter as well at the time. Well, I mean, I still have her. But my daughter at the time, about halfway through college, ended up getting diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And so that completely changed my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It went from having, a kid that, it didn't walk as much or, had a rash on her skin to doing all these appointments at hospitals and doctors and therapists and all these appointments. And that lasted a couple years. So I finished up my degree, but also concentrated mostly on her.
Yeah.
And then stayed home with her to just, help her through that.
Was her father still around?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I did get remarried by that time.
Oh, okay.
And then, so yeah, from there, that's kind of the big thing that happened in college. And then eventually I went back to work And it was the craziest thing. Like, whenever I went to a job, they're like, yeah, we're going through this transition. There's going to be this like big layoff. There's these big problems. We've been steady for like 10 years. Everything's been great. But by the way, it's chaotic here. And I didn't understand like why I kept going to these places. And it was like some of the most chaotic jobs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why is this place on fire? And I remember one time, it was right before my spiritual awakening, and there was another coworker at this one job, and I was like, they just spoke to me all the time, and they would just have this light to them. And I looked at them and I was like, why? Why is there all this chaos and all these pessimistic people and all this worry and all these things always like following? And he goes, because you're the light. You bring the light, you bring the positive. And I was like, oh, right?
Yeah.
And then once I got into my spiritual awakening, I was like, oh, let's change this.
It started making sense for you.
It started making sense.
It's like you're put in chaos so you could be the light in that place.
And I do want to bring up like something that you and I did.
Yeah.
But before I do that, the very first time that I knowingly meditated, right? Laying in bed pretending to sleep wasn't knowingly meditating for me. But knowingly meditating, I was told to look at the moon, let go of everything you need to let go of, right? So I look up at that moon and I'm saying all the things I need to release. And it was a full moon, and all of a sudden I see two beams of light come out and one beam here, and it came forward and it was an angel. And I was like, whoa, I'm seeing that. That's crazy. It's an angel, right? And I kind of lost the vision. And then I went back into meditating, looked at the moon again, just staring at it. That angel came forth again. And then the picture transformed into a profile of a face, right? And I was like, I didn't know what it was. I just, I saw the angel. I was like, okay, we're good. Now, when we fast forward, do you remember that time we went to that church? So we went to this church, right? And we're just checking it out, kind of seeing where we wanted to do the CE5, feeling the ground.
Oh, St.
right?
St. James Cemetery. Yeah.
Right? Do you remember we crossed the threshold of that property?
Yep.
And I just started light languaging.
I remember that.
All the things.
Yeah.
We ended up getting out of the car, and as soon as I got out of the car, I fell down on all fours. My forehead was to the ground, and I'm praying like I've never prayed before. I'm just like praying, right? Eventually, the energy lights up. Stand up, and we go over to Mary. There's a statue of Mary.
Yeah.
And I began to channel. I mean, this is all just coming through, right? I never asked for it. It just came, right?
It was like rapid fire. You were just channeling. You were using the light language, which is for those that don't know, it's like a spiritual, is that like how do you say it? Like a spiritual language?
Yeah, it's a healing frequency.
Yeah. And it happened like, okay, you and I were in the car. As soon as we entered that cemetery, you were like this. You were like this in the car. And then you just started, and that was the first time I heard you light language. Luckily, I knew what that was, or else I'd be like, what the hell is going on here?
Like, I've never taken this chick with me again. Like, this is too weird.
You're lucky I'm in the paranormal. So I had an idea of what was taking place. I just didn't know you, because we hadn't talked about light language at that point.
Right.
But I was like, oh, okay, I guess she knows how to do that. So, yeah, I park, like you said, you get out of the car, you went on the ground, you got up, we walked to the Virgin Mary statue, and you're continuing using, channeling, all these things are coming through you, and you got emotional, you were crying, and it was really intense.
Yeah.
It was really interesting.
So it was releasing the sorrows of man at that time. And I also remember the connection of all the saints and how the saints went in there and helped all these people. And I was feeling that connection. I was feeling the release of all the sorrow. And once that kind of cleared a little bit more, we started walking a little bit further. And I came across that statue. That statue was of St. Jude. And on his chest was that pennant with that profile face. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but I eventually looked it up. It was Jesus the Redeemer. Literally the very first time I meditated, I saw Jesus the Redeemer.
Oh, okay.
So when I go back and I look at my childhood and all the things I had to go through, It was fucking hell.
Yeah.
It sucked. But it also allows me to go in those places, the dark places that people don't go to. You
Mhm.
can't heal from a place of light if you don't know how to go into the dark.
Sure.
So I can go into that darkest of the dark place and go, okay, you've battled addiction. I lived with it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me help you take that demon off of you, right? You've gone through sexual trauma. All right, I got you. I've been there. I know how that feels.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get out of it, right? And I'm able to go in those places that most people won't even touch.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were by the St. Jude statue, and you were asking me like what is on there, what are they holding, St. Jude, and neither you and I, we weren't sure. You looked it up, and you found, and then I remember, I think you called me, or you texted me or something like that. But yeah, you told me and you were really excited about it. So that is what you saw in your vision.
Mm-hmm.
It was Jesus.
Mm-hmm. The Redeemer.
Is that the statue that's in South America? Jesus the Redeemer. There's a statue called Jesus the Redeemer.
I don't know, but I'm gonna look it up now.
Yeah, can you guys look that up? Jesus the Redeemer statue.
I can also put it on screen too.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, if you could do that, and then also the
Yeah, it's
Oh, that's the big statue.
yeah, Rio.
Right? This one.
yeah, is that what you saw, or is it?
Rio de Janeiro, right?
So I got another story because I love that statue.
Was it this one? Or is that a
No.
different one?
No, it's a different one.
But that one is called Jesus the
Yeah.
Redeemer, correct? But
Yeah.
you're talking about
Here, hold
something
on.
different now.
I just saw the profile of the face, just
Oh,
like it
okay.
was on St. Jude's pennant.
Can we get a picture of the Jesus of that's on St. Jude? That he's
Yeah.
holding? I want to take a look to see what that looks like.
So that picture you just showed us of Jesus.
The statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love this story. So one day I woke up and I started playing this game with Jesus, right? Like I was a little kid and I go, Jesus.
Yeah.
And he goes, yes, my child.
I think I found it.
And I like hit around
It's
the
one of
corner
those.
and I was
one
like,
of these.
never mind. He right?
Let's see it. Okay, that one.
It's close. Yeah, that's closer.
Let me see. Okay.
You can exit out. You can scroll through. There's some other ones that showed up.
Yeah, these.
So it's actually on his see that pendant right there?
Yeah.
It's that.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. It's on. It's the face of Jesus within the pendant. So it's like a
Yes.
pendant within a pendant.
Mm-hmm.
Just break Mike's phone.
So do you see that?
You're buying me a new one.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was one of the first ones that showed up. But yeah.
So one day
Yeah.
I woke up and I'm like, Jesus. And he's like, yes, my child. And I was like, nothing. And I went off and I hid, right?
And that was when you were a kid?
No, this was
Oh.
like 2 years ago. I was totally an adult. So then I did it again. I was like, Jesus. And he's like, yes,
Yeah.
my child. And I was like, nothing. And I did this 3 or 4 times. And I was like, why am I playing the hide and go seek game with Jesus, right? Like, I don't understand. But I was like, all right, we're going to go with it.
Yeah.
I happened to be in Colorado and heading to Estes Park, and I had been there several times, and for some reason my GPS took me a different way. No big deal. I play the game one more time. Jesus! He's like, yes, my child. I was like, nothing. I round the corner of this mountain, and there's that exact statue. Well, I'm assuming a different one, but like just like that Jesus on like 100-foot cliff right there. And I was like, I found you, Jesus!
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I got. I played hide and seek with Jesus, okay? Is that enough?
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it was the big statue that we showed you. So that's what the one that you saw.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's interesting. So it was probably a smaller version.
I'm assuming so.
That okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You're in the man, for lack of a better term, the new age field. I mean, that's not a good term, but that's what a lot of people say, right? But it's interesting that Jesus is still central to your life. So you incorporate that into all the healing that you do, all the psychic ability that you do.
Yeah. So what I learned is my mother's side is more the Yeshua lineage, the Jesus lineage.
Mm-hmm.
The Mary Magdalene lineage is all that feminine side of me, where the right side of me is more of the Pleiadian, where I get more of the galactic connections.
Yeah. So you channel alien beings, you channel ascended masters. Which ones come to you the most?
Jesus. And Jesus' lineage. And I say that because, one, the very first meditation, I got Jesus the Redeemer. Two, when I started having visuals, it was me walking down the streets of Bethlehem, walking down the streets of Jerusalem, walking down the streets of Cairo. I was just Jesus' lineage. From there, if I get messages, or when I get messages, a lot of times they have to do with Jesus, and they use that reference.
Mm-hmm.
In my own experience, I feel like I've gone through several stages of enlightenment, and they all match up to different stories in the Bible. And I just find it like the most interesting that even though, like Jonah and the whale, right? It's not that I actually experienced that, but I experienced releasing that large amount of emotions. Whales representing water, representing emotions. And I had to go within those deep, dark emotions, inside that belly of the whale, inside those emotions, really find out who I was,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to come out and go, no, I know my truth, and this is what I'm standing in. And to me, that's the story of Jonah and the whale.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came out in everyday life.
So you take a very metaphorical approach to biblical literature.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
But in addition to that, when I do mind meditations, sometimes I just tune in to see what happens, and other times I'll actually focus. So when I do that, a lot of what I've been doing lately is connecting with like Anna, the grandmother of Jesus,
Mm.
and then going and walking through like what she talks about. There's a book called Anna, Grandmother Jesus. In that book, it talks about where Jesus traveled, kind of where he studied. And so I'll actually tap in to those different things, places or books, manuscripts, whatever, so I can download that stuff as well.
So you, okay, so Jesus is the one that you mainly channel. When you, God, I could go in so many directions. I have so many questions. I don't know if I want to go down this biblical route, or because there's so many other things I want to ask you. I ask you this. So what do you, when you channel and you communicate with these beings, whether it's Jesus or alien entities, what is usually the message? Are they trying to help you out? Are they trying to relay a message for everybody else? What are you doing?
So it's very interesting. If I do meditations where it's just me tuning in,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times they're messages for the collective, but they're actually healing work for the collective as well. And when I say that, like, it's usually a couple weeks right before something major happens in the collective consciousness. I'll have something right before that happen. I'm trying to think of examples.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when we stepped way more into like divine feminine? And we just raised the divine feminine. I want to say it was about 2 years ago. There was just this huge, massive increase in divine feminine.
Oh, wait. You said us, like me or you? Or?
I just mean the collective.
Oh, okay.
My apologies. But there was just this huge increase in divine feminine. Well, I remember right before I started seeing that everywhere, there was an entity that came in, and it was like literally blocking the divine feminine. And it was this really ancient thing. So I cleared it. And then all of a sudden I started seeing like the ancient feminine, and they were like, we're coming back. And I was like, oh, the Venetians are coming back.
Oh, you mentioned this when we were at St. James. Something about the you were mentioning during your light language session, and you're channeling all these things. You were saying the giants are coming back.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that day that we went to that church and that cemetery, it was literally like, the giants are coming back. The giants are coming back. And then what did we see? We literally saw a poster that like, the giants were here.
Yeah.
They found these huge skeletons, and I was like, whoa, I didn't even know.
Yeah, I know that. I found that really interesting because I told you afterwards that like, yeah, they uncovered giant bones there. I believe it was 1897, and the during an archaeological excavation that was funded by the Field Museum in Chicago, here in Chicago. So yeah, that was really interesting because it was in that area right there that they uncovered those. I think they were 7 foot, 9 foot bone. Do you remember?
Yeah, it was like 7.
Yeah, it was like 7 foot tall bones, skeletons, I should say. And you were saying the giants were coming. So that was really interesting because there's a blog I follow called The Secret Sun, and he goes into a lot of esoteric material and metaphysics. And he believes, his name is Chris Knowles, he believes that there is a underground cult, an underground cult that worships the Nephilim giants. And that we see it in a lot of artwork. But if you like look into who is funding the artwork, the sculptures, or the artists themselves, they're like part of the secret cabal, or they might be part of a secret cabal. So it's just really interesting.
That is interesting.
So when you were saying that, it was just like, oh, what's going on here, So,
That's interesting you say that. When we talk about like being underground and, just the collection, another story I'm remembering is being in Mount Shasta, right? I was in Mount Shasta and I was, got guided to pray. And I was like, okay, so I sit there and I'm praying, bring love and light, all the things, right? And then from there, it was like, we need help us. And I saw all these light beings, like almost behind rocks, peeking behind the rocks, almost like if they were in caves and tunnels. And they were like, we need out. And then I saw all these like almost patrols, like dark patrols just going back and forth. And these light beings like, we need to get out, right? And I said, oh, okay. Let's pray, whatever they need. And I did that. And the van I was in started to shake. And the lights on the van started going off. And I was like, whoa. And since then, I feel like that was really like releasing some of the hold that they had on the Lemurians that were hidden within Mount Shasta. And as they were hiding and we removed, kind of those patrols, then they were able to actually come out, and you started seeing just more and more activity around there.
Lemurians meaning like the underground race of humanoids that are living underground. Yeah, Mount Shasta is a highly energetic, sacred place. I'm trying to think. I just met somebody recently that said they were recently at Mount Shasta, and they're like, yeah, dude, I was there like two weeks ago, and it was just so spiritual, and I feel like a different person. And there's so many people, there's so many testimonials about people going to Mount Shasta and changing afterwards. There's a lot of UFO sightings there, a lot of ghost sightings right there by the mountains. Light beings, like you just mentioned, dark shadows, and a lot of people have disappeared mysteriously in that area, only for their bodies to be found. Either months later or years later, right where the search party would have looked, and they weren't there, and they, turned up later on. So it's a very, very interesting place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way cool.
So how long were you there for?
Just overnight I was traveling through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in that one night, you already experienced, these light beings and these dark shadows there.
Yes,
That's
it was way
awesome.
cool. And the fact that like they made the lights on the van go off and everything, I was like, whoa, they're close.
So were the lights like blinking, or did they just go off, or how?
Yeah, they were blinking. So like, you know, like when you get too close to a car, your wind or your mirror will start lighting
Yeah.
up. It was like stuff like that happening. I was like, there is nobody else around us.
Yeah.
No one. Why is that happening?
Yeah.
Like the van has been off for over an hour. There's no way that should be lighting. The keys are out of it. There's
Wow.
no way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fascinating.
When did you, now, was this a gradual thing where you, I mean, because you graduate college, you're working, you're having all these different jobs. You're in a very different place right now in your life. How did that, transition occur?
I literally remember the day that I was like, wow, I made it. I have everything I've ever wanted in my entire life. Either I have it or I have the means to have it, right? Like I could write a check for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going, this is the greatest feeling. I mean, these are the things that I journaled about when I was, 14, 15 years old. Like, this is what I want. And then I remember about a month later, I looked around and I had lost a baby. The guy I dated had a heart attack, gave him CPR. He lived. Scariest thing ever, giving somebody CPR on your bedroom floor. And from there, everything just switched.
Why did he have a heart attack?
I didn't know this at the time, but he had a family history of it.
Mm.
He was young. He was about 45, and it was a widowmaker's heart attack, which most people don't survive that.
Mm-hmm.
Fortunately, he did.
Yeah.
He coded like 3 times, but after that occurrence, things just changed. And I remember going, I can't live like this anymore. And I said, I'm going to do anything and everything to make myself happy.
Mm-hmm.
So if it is something that brings happiness to me, I'm going to bring it in my life. And if it doesn't, I'm getting rid of it. And I remember the very first thing I did is I took Reiki, right? I had it done on me. And that's something that I looked in the community catalog at and going, I'm going to take that. Oh, wait, it already started. I'm going to take it next time, right?
Yeah.
And I did that for 20 years, okay? So finally I walked in there and the Reiki practitioner goes, you just lost a baby and got out of an abusive relationship. I said, close. It was a Wednesday. I go, I'm moving out on Saturday. So that was the first time I ever experienced something like that. And then from there, it was like I slowly just started feeling energy. I remember going over to a friend's house and they had some crystals, and up until that point, I really didn't know much about them. And I was like, oh, crystals, can I see them? And they were like, and I go, ugh. And they turned this way, and I was like, oh, okay. And if they turned this way, I was like, ugh.
Well, what were you feeling?
Every single time they brought all the crystals at once to me, it was too much. And I would get nauseous.
Too much energy?
Too much. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But if they turned away, I was okay. And I was like, that's weird. Right. But if they gave me individual crystals, it was okay. I was like, I just don't think that one likes me.
Yeah. Well, what does that mean, though?
It was
For there to be a lot of crystals that are right by you, and for you to get nauseous, is that
one of those crystals didn't align with me, and I could feel
Okay.
it. That's it.
okay?
But that was my first experience with something like that, knowingly, right?
Yeah.
From there, he had a singing bowl, and he goes, "Have you ever seen one of these?" And I was like, "Nope." And they're like, "Here, let me play it." And he plays it, and he goes, "Whoa!" I was like, "What?" And he goes, "It went whoa."
Do you want to describe what a singing bowl is?
Yeah, so a singing bowl is typically it's a metal bowl, and you have a wooden stick, and you rub it around the edge of the wooden or the bowl,
Yeah.
that stick, and then it starts to hum. It creates a noise, right? In this case, when he first did it, it was like wah, and he's like, "That's weird," and I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Normally it goes wah wah wah," and I was like, "Okay, whatever," right? He goes, "Have you ever played it?" And I was like, "Nope." He goes, "You want to try?" Okay. I go to play it, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Go to play it, nothing happens. Go to play it a third time, nothing happens. So in my head, I go, all right, how many times did it take you? He goes, 4 to 5. I go, okay. If it took you 4 to 5, I can do 4 to 5. So I go to play it that 4th time.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the magic happened. Something inside of me said, push your energy into it. Now, at that time, I had no idea what that meant.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew in the depths of my soul how to do that, and I was going to do that. I was like, I know how to do this, right? So I pushed my energy into it, and it starts humming. I was like, whoa, right? So I was trained to be a scientist, right? So we're going to experiment a little bit. And I go, what happens if I push harder? And I pushed harder, and it got louder. I was like, I go, okay, well, if I push louder or harder, what happens if I push softer? When I did that, it got quieter. I was like, oh. And as a scientist, you have to repeat the experiment over and over, right? So I repeated it over and over and over. And then eventually I looked at my friend and I was like, I'm doing this. I'm making it get louder. I'm making it get quieter, right? And it was so miraculous to me, right? So from there, he taught me how to do an energy ball. And so, do you know much about an energy ball?
Yeah. Well, I do, but like, let's
So basically you take your hands and you go, how do I feel? And you figure out how you feel. If you're hot, you're cold, doesn't matter. Just know how you feel.
Yeah.
From there, you want to wake up the energy in your hands. Get your atoms moving, right? Just like before you had to do the warm up in gym class, we're going to warm up your hands. You're going to clap. You're going to rub your hands together. You're going to do a little bit more clapping. And then you're going to hold them about an inch apart. And you're just going to feel. Now, typically when I do this with my students, they're going to feel things like, ooh, there's a little bit of static electricity. They may feel wind. They may feel pressure. They may feel a little magnetic kind of pull. All those are the right answer. But what's happening is you're feeling that electricity or that energy between your palms. When you do this, you're pushing and pulling against that magnetic pole.
Right.
And you're going to be able to feel it just a little bit more.
I felt it before using them. Yeah, it's really interesting. It's just like static electricity between your palms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then from there you can build it and almost like imagine Play-Doh within your hand, except for its electricity. So I'm also thinking like a Doctor Strange type of thing, right?
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yep. So, and then you can play with that. And wherever your mind is what you're actually putting in that ball. So if you concentrate on love, happiness, joy, you're going to put the energy of love, happiness, and joy within that ball. Then you can take that ball, place it on your chest, take a big breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and incorporate that energy in your entire body. Now that's a quick 30-second, this is what an energy ball is, right?
Right.
So he shows me how to do that, and I was like, whoa, like I can feel this. I can't see it, but I can feel it, right? And then from there, I was like, So I can feel it. I was like, can I feel your energy? And he's like, I don't know. Let's try. So I take my hands out like this, and he puts his hands like this, right? And when that happens, I go, can you feel that? And he goes, it's a little lighter here and heavier here. And I was like, wait. And in my head, I was like, I know what to do. And I adjusted it. Without knowing how to adjust it, I adjusted it.
It was
right?
intuitive. Yeah.
Very intuitive.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, it's even. I was like, whoa. So I can feel your energy. I was like, can you feel my energy? And so like he put his hands out and I put my hands out and I pushed. Man jumped 10 feet in the air. He was just like, whoa. I was like, what'd I do? And he's like, that was strong. And I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. So I say all of that to be like, I started getting interested in crystals. And so I was like, going to crystal shops. And I remember being in this crystal shop and I was like, should I get this crystal? And my body goes, I was like, should I get this one? My body goes backwards again, right? Then I go, should I get this one? My body leans forward. And I was like, I think my body's like a pendulum. And I started walking around the store, like testing, should I get this one? And it started swaying back and forth. If you don't know anything about a pendulum, you can hold a pendulum, ask the pendulum a question, and it will start moving in different directions to give you an answer.
A form of divination.
Yes.
Yeah. So your body acts like a divining rod for crystals.
It does.
That's awesome.
I learned later that this is an actual thing. Didn't know at the time. And it's muscle testing. So the sway test, leaning forward is a yes, leaning backwards is a no. Typically, everybody can be slightly different, but that's typically how it goes, right? From there, I learned that my body just started moving. you know, whether it was doing clockwise swirls, counterclockwise swirls, and it just started just moving. My arms would move, my fingers would move. And when I started paying attention and kind of making note of repeat movements, I started building like a catalog of language that the movements were telling me things, right? So for instance, I remember being like, left side of my body's tingling. And I said this like 10 times to my friend. And they're like, it's your feminine side. You told me this already like 10 times. I was like, I should pay more attention to that, right? And so I did. And I was able to build that language. That's also how I began shape-shifting. And when I dance around and I move my hands up, I'm raising energy. Outwards, I'm expanding energy. Counterclockwise is the reversal of energy or the transmutation.
So you've become a shaman.
I call it a shamanic shapeshifter. The reason I say that is shape-shifting. When I began to learn that, I was dealing a lot with my shadow side. And I brought in a lot of the animal energies. So I would actually transform into the shapes of animals. So for instance, the very first time I channeled an animal, it was a panther. And I went down on my hands and knees.
Yeah.
I took out my claws, like literally it felt like claws coming out. And I'm just scratching that energy. And I always remember like Beauty and the Beast. You know how he scrapes the curtains and they're all dangling and in little pieces? That's exactly what the panther did. It just tore that energy, shredded it into those little pieces, and those little pieces were easier for me to remove.
You know what's really interesting about that? We had a guest on here, Eric Buck, really decent guy. He actually goes to C5 events as well. He just hasn't gone to ones that you and I do because he's just been busy. But you're going to meet him soon. He said that he practiced shamanism a long time ago, and his first spiritual entity that he encountered was a panther.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, right. It was a panther, right? Yeah. He encountered a panther. So
I love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's weird. You go into shamanic stories, and the panther seems to be a very highly spiritual animal.
One of the healers.
Yeah, that's interesting. I like that.
Yeah. I've learned that, like when I teach people light language or how to channel, that kind of stuff, I've learned that they go through a similar progression that I went through. So for instance, I started out with the shape-shifting, the shamanic shape-shifting, working with the animals, hugging trees, working with Gaia, and moving my body with the gross muscles, the large muscle groups, right? But as I fine-tuned that, I was able to channel more with the fine motors, right? So that's your hands, right? That's your automatic writing. That's your, sometimes I rewrite things in the Akashic records with my fingers, that type of stuff. So that's your fine motor skills. And then from there, it moves more into the light language, which is more the angelic realm. And then it'll go more into, the aliens and that kind of stuff. That's at least the progression that I found, that I traveled through. And it's very easy to teach people that based on their ability to channel large motor down to the fine motor.
That is a long journey that you've been on.
It's been so much fun though.
Yeah.
There's so many great stories.
Before we wrap up, I want to say that I've seen so many people buy you and get readings from you, healings, get cleansings, and everyone wants to be around you. You are a magnet for people. Probably, benevolent people and malevolent people. Your aura, right? Obviously I can't see auras, but you have an aura about you where people are very attracted to you because you're just full of joy and happiness, and you want to heal people. You want to be there for them. I know that you used to have a good day job for a while. Your last job, well, at least what you've told me before, is like, you were. I think you were making decent money. right?
Yeah.
You're making decent money and you were there for a while, but like this was your calling, this was your vocation, and you left that behind. You left the comfortability of a steady job in order to heal people and make much less money from it.
Yes. It's interesting you say that, because I remember when I first started getting into this, people would be like, do you know you're a light worker? And I'm like, yep. And they're like, do you know you're going to be traveling the country doing this work? And I was like, say what? I'm a Sagittarius. Sign me up. That sounds great. Let me travel, right? But I was comfortable in the corporate world,
Yeah.
right? It paid the bills and I didn't have to worry about things. Toxic, but paid the bills.
Yeah.
That being said, I remember going, universe, look, if you want me to do this, I'm all in. But I'm not leaving the corporate world unless you give me an alternative, right?
Mhm.
You're going to have to do something. And it was my birthday. And on my birthday, they announced the plant was closing. Like, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I was like, okay, there's my sign.
Yeah.
To me, it was one of the greatest birthday gifts I could have ever gotten. However, my heart goes out to those other individuals, right? Because that's not an easy transition. And it does cause a lot of worry. But for me, it was one of the greatest birthday gifts.
Yeah.
And they're like, here you go. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Help me more.
You embody the archetype of the wounded healer. There's a lot of trauma, but without that trauma, you probably wouldn't, have that destination that you were supposed to reach. There is a book. Rob and I spent some time with Bill and Jackie. They run a what would you call it? It's like it's a paranormal group, but it's not necessarily paranormal. They combine paranormal and psychology. Bill 𝐃𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐫𝐞𝐚, he is a PhD psychologist, and he wrote a book called Bridging the Tragedy, which looked into the collapse of the Silver Bridge in 1966. The bridge joined West Virginia and Ohio, and the bridge collapsed in 1966 right before Christmas. And how many people died? 37?
Well, that was the movie. I think it was like, wasn't it closer to 60?
No, in a movie, 40. It was 47. Mothman Prophecy is the movie.
I think it was 37 in the movie. Remember, there's the song from the soundtrack.
Whatever, Rob. Anyway, God, he's fired. Anyway, a lot of people died.
He'll be back next week.
That's actually how it happens.
Right.
Yeah, keep my job.
Mike is fired too.
Damn, well, I'll be back next week too.
Yeah, I need him.
You
back.
need an editor, man.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. All right, you're hired.
Yes.
Um,
But Rob's still fired, right?
He's still fired.
Okay,
he
good.
cannot come back. A lot of people died on this bridge. I shouldn't say that laughing. Hold on.
A lot
Okay,
of people
I'm
were
back.
fired here. A lot of people died there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
On this bridge, a lot of people died, and Bill and Jackie, they set out to interview people that were affected by that collapse. Point Pleasant, West Virginia is a small town where everybody knows everybody, especially in 1967. Or I'm sorry, it was 1967. It was during the whole Mothman craze where everybody was seeing Mothman. And my point in saying this is that the book is not about the paranormal phenomena that took place around the collapse of this bridge. The book is about trauma, psychology, and a little bit about the paranormal. And Bill and Jackie are working on another book that really is going to blend trauma and the paranormal together. That's the point of me saying this whole thing. I think they're right. I think there's a connection between those two things. Dr. Jacques Vallée, who's a famous ufologist, study UFOs, he says that there is an intertwining between the occult, trauma, and he specifically was talking about child abuse and psychic abilities and paranormal phenomena in general. I think that definitely might have happened to you. I mean, there was a lot of trauma, but you came out of it as a healer, you know, and you needed those compartments in your mind to be broken down, to be opened, to allow yourself to acquire those psychic abilities that would have been dormant or inaccessible if those walls weren't broken down.
I agree.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because going back into the conversation, you know, I remember being, you know, 15, 16 years old saying I wouldn't be the same person if this did not happen.
For sure.
And so you fast forward, you know, 25 years, and I was like, I think I was kind of smart as a kid. I think I got that one right. And I wouldn't be. I would not be the same for each and every single one of those circumstances. So I'm thankful.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful to my mother. I'm thankful to my father. I'm thankful even.
Yeah, you don't have to be.
Some days it's harder than others, but I try, you know, love and peace. But I am truly thankful, because without that, I wouldn't be who I was. Now, do I wish that on anyone else? No, let me show you the shortcut. You don't got to go through all that stuff. I did that already.
Yeah.
But it does allow me, like I said, to go into those places that most people can't go to.
And you could have gone down a totally different path. You know, you could have become, you know, a lifelong drug addict. You could have been dead right now. You know, you could have had an OnlyFans. You know, so many things, right?
So many.
But then you have 2 kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you raised your 2 kids, and from everything I know about them, they're great kids,
Mm-hmm.
and they love you, and you have a great relationship with them.
Yep.
So I think that's, you know, you doing the healing on so many people is number one, and then number one would be you know, showing your kids the love that maybe you wish you had. But number 2 would be you healing not just them but everybody else too. So that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the best quality that you have is that healing, that cleansing, not only that cleansing nature, but that cleansing ability that a lot of us don't have, you know. So that's awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate
Where
that.
could people find you? Where could they tell me about your classes? Tell me how people could find you, all that.
Yeah, so all the information is on my website. It's DesireaPittman.com, which is Desire, add an A, Pittman, DesireaPittman.com.
And I'll put that in the show notes too.
Perfect. Yeah, so I do one-on-one sessions. I do what's called a soul blessing, and basically that's where I tap into people's heart chakra. And then I just start getting divine information in the sense of the way it works for me is whatever happens on your body, I feel on my body. So I'll start feeling, you know, if you have shoulder pain, I'll feel if you have a chakra out of balance. I'll feel if you have a hormone imbalance, all those different things. And I'll just start correcting them as we go, and I'm guided to do. But I can also do past life regressions within that soul blessing, soul fragment retrievals. Sometimes I'm downloading psychic gifts. Sometimes I'm teaching you how to use different tools. Sometimes I'm even open up your angelic wings. Sometimes I'm channeling Pleiadians. It really just depends on what you need at that time to what's brought into that soul blessing. So those are done on one-on-ones. Then from there, I teach a variety of different things. But in general, it begins with the shamanic shapeshifting.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to channel energy through your entire body and let it flow through your body as it gives you messages and clears, upgrades, all those things. All the way to teaching angelic light language, right? So that's actually the channeling. If you want to hear some, it goes, let me see, can I channel some light language? We are blessed to be here with you guys today. We have so much love in our hearts. So being able to do that angelic light language and also be able to interpret it for them. Because a lot of times, especially people who begin with like Reiki, that kind of stuff, they're literally moving energy, but they don't always know what they're doing. So I like to just help them along. Do you realize your energy is flowing this way? Do you realize that's more of a fire energy or a water energy? Or do you realize your energy would be very good at psychic surgery? Or do you realize you're really good astral projector? So being able to identify those things within an individual and then customize the classes to them to help bring out those skills. And that all comes out with the angelic light language as well.
What were you channeling right now when you did the light language? What was going through you?
I interpreted it exactly what I said.
So when that was happening, I guess what I'm asking is that always in the background? Are you always hearing that? And then you're interpreting it?
So sometimes I interpret it word for word, or but sometimes I just see frequencies or a picture of what's happening. So it's not always verbal. It can come through in different ways. But with a light language, there's different dialects per se. Like sometimes when I say it, it sounds like I'm singing like an Asian song, right? It's really pretty. And sometimes I'm like militant. I was like, let's get this done.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's just an everyday talk, or it sounds more like an aborigine, like an old medicine man kind of thing. So there can be different dialects. And based on the dialects, it will tell you what's happening with the energy as well. And then people tend to gravitate towards one of the dialects more than another. And that will tell you a lot about the person as well. So for instance, if it's that very ancient, like grandparents just talk a little slower sometimes. So when your dialect comes in that very ancient, slower kind of rhythm, I know that person has a very ancient soul, and we're working at that level. If the person comes in with kind of a new age kind of slang, then I'd be like, you're a newer soul, but that's cool. You still know light language, right? And so it can vary by person.
We call it light language, but whose language is it? Is it the language of the angels? Is it, whose language is this?
So they talk about it in the Bible, like the Holy Spirit in tongues. That's a very good reference. So it's like speaking the tongues of the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit itself, in my opinion, is an energy, right? So it's speaking the energy through our tongue. Now, you can see it sometimes. There's some people who can see energy. You'll see the light language come out as frequencies, healing frequencies of the actual mouth.
Okay, that makes more sense. Before I let you go, I'm really curious because you've told me a couple good stories before about like strange things happening when you're giving healings to people. Could you think of an example, like weird synchronicities that have happened, or you saying things that you couldn't have known, or I can't think of a specific example, but I know you've told me things, but I know that has happened to you so many times, so I don't know if you could find.
Yeah, so one of my favorite ones is another healer that I work with now, but it was one of the first times I ever met him. He happens to be from Florida, right? And he just so happened to be in Chicago one weekend.
Okay.
And another healer friend of mine just so happened to be in Chicago the same weekend, right? And he asked me, he's like, hey, can you help me with this chiropractor conference? I was like, sure, I'll help you. So I just so happened to be there, right? Never been to a chiropractor conference before. Why not? Let's try it, right? So when I'm there, there's this woman, and I'm getting kind of bored, and I was like, you guys want to do some healing work? And I end up doing a soul blessing on this woman. That soul blessing, I was doing removal of generational curses. All of a sudden, in the middle of doing this guy runs around the corner and is like, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. I didn't do it. And he's like, I can feel that. And I was like, what? Why can you feel that? Turns out it was her brother.
Oh.
Now, this woman was from another country, and she was flying through the area. Something happened with her plane, and she got delayed, So she was only in Chicago for, let's say, less than 24 hours, probably less than 12. And she happened to be there that 24 hours that I was there, that her brother was there, right? And her brother literally felt me remove the generational curses off of her.
Wait, so her brother didn't know that she was in town?
Her brother knew,
Okay.
right? But the thing is I was working on her. He didn't know I was working on her at the time.
I get it. Okay.
He was in a separate room
Sure.
and then ran around the corner and was like, "What are you doing? I can feel that." And I was like, ugh,
Yeah.
not knowing it was her brother, going,
Yeah.
"Oh, that makes sense."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what was their reaction afterwards, both the brother and sister?
After that, he's like, "I want you to come to Florida and do healing work." And I was like, "Sign me up. Do I get to do it on the beach?"
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was quite impactful. That one I really love just because it shows that even when we work on ourselves, it can affect other people.
Mhm.
And to me, that's so impactful.
Yeah.
I remember personally taking some time away from my siblings and working on that, divine masculine, divine feminine, and healing that within myself. And then also working to heal that within the generations of my family, right? And I took some time off from my family. And then once I went back and I was talking to my brother, I called him and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Folding laundry." "What? You're folding laundry? You're like one of those masculines that don't do that. So how am I working on repairing that in my life?"
Mhm.
in my family, and then all of a sudden it's reflected in my brother. I was like,
Yeah.
"That's cool."
Yeah.
Right? So this are some
Yeah.
of the things.
So yeah, I know you have a bunch of stories where weird things happen while you're doing healings or right afterwards. Excuse me. But yeah, that's awesome. When you finally write your book, you gotta include all these stories.
Oh my goodness, it'll
Yeah.
be so long.
Yeah.
I love the videos. For instance, I do work in an EE room, an energy enhancement room.
Mhm.
If you know anything about that, they're a room. They have a bunch of frequencies programmed in there. A lot of people will go in there. Women will start to look younger. You'll relieve your body ailments, scalar frequencies, dolphin frequencies, grounding frequencies, all these things within this room, right?
Mhm.
And I was like, what happens if we add healers? And
Yeah.
so we went to this room. And I walk in the room and literally the heavens open up and all the archangels step forward and they go, "How can we help you?" I was like, "Whoa, this is awesome," right?
Yeah.
Since then, we started doing soul blessings within these energy enhancement rooms.
I want to go to one. Seriously.
Oh, it's coming
I
up.
actually been wanting to go to something like that, energy room.
Yeah, it is coming up on the 11th of October. We have 2
Okay.
sessions. But the awesome thing about this particular room, the very first day we did this, after we got done, we see orbs flying all around the room.
Mm.
And we got video of that. I was like, "That's
You're gonna have
awesome."
to show me that later on.
And then the other thing I really like to see in videos is, if you don't know, when you channel energy, your hands, and you turn it on, your hands will actually become whiter
Mhm.
the more you channel the energy. In addition, your fingertips are likely to change color based on what chakra you're working on. So,
My hands are always red. What does that mean?
well, I mean, that could just be naturally how you are. But turn on your channeling, your palms will start turning whiter.
I don't know how to do that.
That's okay. We'll work on that off camera. But what I really like in videos is, like, especially on my TikTok and stuff, you'll see like me channeling energy and just my skin just getting
you've shown me.
brighter and
Yeah.
brighter. And then you'll also see, like, if an entity comes in or a denser energy, not only will my body kind of go down
Mhm.
and kind of more hunched, but my skin will turn back to a normal color. And then once I remove that entity, all of a sudden I'll open back up and my skin will just glow. So
That's
it's pretty
awesome.
cool to watch.
Yeah, you show me a couple of them, and it's really interesting to see. Desiree, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. And just one more time, tell us your website.
DesireePittman.com. It's DesireAPittman.com. And I just want to say thank you so much, Jack, for having me.
Yeah.
You've always been amazing to work with. We've had so much fun
Yeah,
over
and
the
we're gonna have a
last-
lot more adventures too.
I know. And join us at
So-
our next CE5.
Yes.
It'll be next spring.
Yeah.
so.
Oh my God. We don't
we
have
didn't
time.
even talk about it.
Yeah.
I know.
We didn't even talk about C5.
I know. That's okay. Next time.
I actually thought that was gonna take up most of the podcast talking about that. yeah, there's so many different directions you could have gone.
Yeah.
But that's why we're going to have you again. So thank you for coming on. And yeah, we'll have you back.
Yeah. Thanks, Jack.
Yep.
Thanks.